Hey troops, welcome to the channel. Dit Commando here. My name's Ryan, and today we're going to be reacting to the 10 worst state capitals in the United States. Before we get into it, like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Drop me a comment below, and I'll get back to you. Enjoy.
Howdy, it's Kyle with a video counting down the 10 worst state capitals in the US. Previously, I posted a video ranking the 50 state capitals, which are the buildings, but this video is talking about the actual capital cities themselves, so the beauty of the Capitol building plays no factor at all in this video. And this is a topic that I want to discuss because in several of my videos, I've talked about many cities that have undergone a major economic boom in the past decade or so that are state capitals, and these are also often home to a major university. So we're talking like Raleigh, North Carolina, or Nashville, Tennessee, Austin, Texas, Columbus, Ohio, or bigger cities like Denver or Atlanta, but the picture isn't entirely rosy in all of the state capitals, and in this video I ranked the 10 worst ones. At number 10 is Providence, Rhode Island. That's a population of about 185,000.
It's going to be really good, guys, because we hear like the good, we hear sometimes the bad, but this is going to be the ugly, all right? We're going to hear the worst for the state capitals. I want to know if you agree with this, though, because it's all opinionated. And when I next visit America, I will be using all of this information, actually, to best advantage, you know, to be able to make sure I don't go to certain places. So if you disagree with this, let me know why.
But it's had about the same population for the past 50 years. It has both a lower household and a per capita income than the state of Rhode Island's averages. And that's not common. Normally you expect state capitals to have higher wages and higher income than the rest of the state, but for 9 of the 10 on this list, including Providence, that's just not the case.
Wow.
The household income is $48,000 per year, which is pretty low, especially for the Northeast, and the per capita income is $28,000 per year, which is also very low. And that leads to approximately 22% of the population of Providence living in poverty. One interesting note about the demographics of Providence is that it's 43% Hispanic, mostly Puerto Rican, but that's much higher than you might expect. And the current mayor is the son of Guatemalan immigrants. If I would have done this list about 10 years ago, Providence probably would have been in the top 5, so it has improved a little bit, but it is still one of the rougher state capitals in the country. At number 9 is Springfield, Illinois. It has a population of about 120,000 and is growing pretty slowly. And just like almost all the other cities on this list, it has both lower household and per capita income than the state average. It has a household income of $55,000 per year.
$55,000, that's like combined then. In America, yeah, that is pretty low, I'm guessing then, troops, to be able to especially live the American dream, as we would say. Yeah, that's not too great of a wage in England if it was pounds. So I can't imagine how difficult it would be to, you know, get on by in the United States, especially you got to pay for things like health insurance and stuff like that. So yeah, that's going to be tough, man.
And a per capita income of $35,000, which are both pretty low. It has a pretty serious issue with poverty, with 23% of the population there living under the poverty line. The city has pretty high crime rate, but it is just average for murders, so usually when the crime rate is really high, but the murder rate is average or low, that means there probably isn't a major gang problem there, but there is a lot of poverty that leads to a lot of property crimes.
Right, if there's not a lot of gang problem there, and, you know, the murder rate's not too bad, then that place has potential then, so I don't know why they don't like utilize these statistics to their advantage and try and develop these areas, because the people are obviously quite decent there.
The overall state of Illinois is losing population, and that's a pretty strong theme throughout this video, in that if a state is losing population, there are fewer government services needed, and the state capital is going to feel the brunt of that negative impact. At number 8 is Lansing, Michigan. It has a population of approximately 115,000, and there's been a slight population decline for about 50 years. Its household income is $41,000 and per capita income is $24,000, which are both lower than the Michigan average. It has a very high poverty rate of 26%. It also...
Right, no one should be living in poverty in the United States. It pains me when I hear that, especially, you know, I hear the same thing in the United Kingdom, and no one should be living in poverty in the United Kingdom either. I mean, we're first world countries, or at least we state that we are.
Also has an above average crime rate, but it isn't horrifyingly bad. But Lansing does buck the trend a little bit in that just east of it is East Lansing. That's the home of Michigan State University. So again, most of these capitals that have a major university either in...
That's a nice building right there.
in the city or right nearby tend to be doing better off, but Lansing really isn't getting that
That's
benefit of
really
having
nice.
both the capital and the university there. But the overall city of Lansing does have above average educational attainment amongst its citizens, but overall the city is still pretty rough. At number 7 is Charleston, West Virginia. It has a pretty small population for a state capital at 45,000, but the population is going down. It's lost 12% of the population since the 2000 census. The city
Wow.
had about 75,000 people at the 1970 census, so that's always been a fairly small state capital, but it has been going down in population quite a bit. And Charleston's the only city on this list that has a higher household and per capita income than the state average. With West Virginia being just about the poorest state in the country, Charleston's $44,000 household income and $35,000 per capita income are higher than the state. The poverty rate is about 20%, which for this list is actually pretty good. In
Wow.
terms of crime, it has a just above average murder rate, but it has very high property crimes and assaults. And this is a reflection on the
Right, so there's obviously a lot of poor people knocking about then. If they're doing burglaries, it's to gain money. I wonder if there's drugs involved in that as well.
huge drug problem in Charleston and
Boom.
West
Hey, there you go. He just said it. Drugs, man. Drugs always lead to burglaries, don't they? Because it's cheap and easy to obtain that money.
Virginia in general. You hear about the phrase opioid epidemic. Well, West Virginia is pretty much ground zero for that. It's also a very unhealthy city, one of the most obese cities in the country, very high smoking rate as well. And West Virginia is generally considered the least healthy state in the country, and you can see that in Charleston. At number 6 is Montgomery, Alabama. It has a population of about 200,000, and it's generally been growing a little bit for the past 50 years, but
That
the
looks nice,
population has
though.
been pretty steady since 2015. Alabama is one of the poorest states in the country, and Montgomery is poorer than the state average. The household income is $43,000 per year, and the per capita income is $25,000. And it has a 24% poverty rate. So, as with a lot of other cities with a high poverty rate, there's also a very high crime rate in both violent crimes and property crimes. And Alabama
We see a common occurrence here then. It's always, always, always about money. No matter what your kind of conclusions come to, money affects everything. Certainly how you live. To live the American dream in America, you've got to have a bit of money behind you, you know? You've got to have a bit of money behind you. Otherwise, it just isn't the case. Let me know in the comments what you think about that. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know why.
Alabama is kind of the Rust Belt of the South. There was a lot of iron and steel and manufacturing type stuff going on in the state, but just like you had up north in places like Pennsylvania and Ohio, there was a big decrease in those jobs, and the state took a big hit overall. And with Montgomery being the capital of the state, it took a major hit.
Mm-hmm.
At number 5 is Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It has a population of about 225,000 people. And this is another one where it's a lower household and per capita income than the state, with $42,000 household income and $27,000 per capita income. So Louisiana, again, is a pretty poor state, but Baton Rouge is even poorer than that.
So just imagine if both people in the household are working and coming in at that average or less. You're going to work full time to still be classed as poverty stricken. That would just demoralize the hell out of you, wouldn't it? If you were working and you still were classed as poor. I don't know how that must feel, man.
27% poverty rate in the city, and it has a very high crime rate in both violent and property crimes. But one of the most surprising stats is that only 33% of the city has a college degree, which is crazy for a city with a major university. Most major college towns, especially ones that are also state capitals, are going to have more than 1/3 of the population with a college degree, but not in Baton Rouge. Reminds me of a line from an old Randy Newman song, "College men from LSU went in dumb, came out dumb too." So Baton Rouge is the city that most bucks that trend of cities which are both state capitals and major college towns seeing an economic boom, because Baton Rouge just isn't seeing it. At number 4 is Harrisburg, Pennsylvania. It has a
Right, I'm going to say this from the start. That looks really nice, to be honest with you. I think that looks pretty cool.
population of about 50,000 people, and there's been a population decline for 50 years. Its household income of $42,000 and per capita income of $25,000 are both lower than the Pennsylvania state averages. A whopping 32% of the people that live in Harrisburg live under the poverty line. And shocking.
Now that's shocking. That's not acceptable at all. Not in America. Not in a place looking that good. People shouldn't be working and earning that amount of money. So when you look at the statistics as well, if there's that many people earning that amount of money within a state, and then at the same time they've also got a population decline, then clearly, hello, people are moving out because they're not earning good money and they can get good money elsewhere. So that's why these other states are going to prosper, because they're probably offering better opportunities. You know, it's like where I live in the northeast of England. The money's not great, so people move to London. And that's why, you know, these little suburb areas of the United Kingdom, their populations are declining as well, which aids to the poverty problem, because all of your brain boxers, all of your people who are going to be innovating business ideas and all of that kind of stuff and generating income are moving out of the place.
Only 79% of the city are high school graduates, and all those factors lead to an absurdly high crime rate, an incredibly high murder rate, assaults, robberies, any kind of crime you can think of is extremely high in Harrisburg. Which is a shame, because the state capitol building there is one of the most beautiful ones in the country. It's just that the city in which it's located is pretty rough. At number 3 is Jackson, Mississippi. There's a population of about 160,000 people, and there's been a 10% decrease in population since 2000. Mississippi is the single poorest state in the entire country, and yet Jackson still has a lower household income and per capita income than the state averages, with household income being only $40,000 per year and per capita income being only $22,000 per year, which leads to a poverty rate of about 24%, which actually is kind of low considering the other stats. But as you would expect with a city with a lot of poverty, you have a very high crime rate, although not as bad as Harrisburg. And a pretty odd stat is that only 1% of the population in Jackson are foreign-born immigrants. You'll be hard-pressed to find another city in the U.S. with a population over 100,000 people that has only 1% that are foreign-born immigrants. And that's a pretty good indicator that there really isn't much economic and job growth in the city, which is pretty reflective of Mississippi in general, because not just Jackson, but the entire state is losing population. At number 2 is Hartford, Connecticut. Has a population of about 125,000, and there's been a general population decline for the past 50 years.
Yeah, well, looking at it straight away, I don't know if it's a bad photo or what. It doesn't look too great. All right, it looks like it doesn't look great, guys. Let me know what your thoughts are. If you're from America, is Hartford as grey and as glum as it looks?
It has a significantly lower income than the Connecticut state averages, because Connecticut as a state is one of the wealthiest states in the country, and Hartford is extremely poor. The household income is $35,000 per year, which is less than half of the Connecticut state average, and the per capita income is $20,000 a year. 31% of the population there is living under the poverty line, and as you might expect, has a very high crime rate in terms of both violent and property crimes. So in general, Connecticut is a state that people usually associate with good things, good schools, good health care, got the most beautiful state capitol building in the country, but the capital city itself...
Wow. That's beautiful, man. That is awesome. I would love to go visit that.
Of Hartford is one of the roughest in the country. And at number 1, the single worst state capital...
Right, who's it going to be then, guys? Drop your comments below.
...in the entire country is Trenton, New Jersey. There's a
Trenton,
population...
right, never heard of Trenton. That's probably why, because it's not very good.
of about 80,000 people, and there's been a population decline for the past 50 years. And some of these stats about Trenton are just staggering. The household income is $32,000, which is less than half of the New Jersey state average, and the per capita income is $20,000 per year. The poverty rate is about 30% and increasing, and a shockingly low 72% of the population there are high school graduates. And this one's mind-blowing. The average home value in Trenton is $98,000. New Jersey is one of the most expensive states in the country for housing, but you can get one for under $100,000 in Trenton. Wow. But interestingly enough, the murder rate is only kind of average, so you would expect a much higher violent crime rate in the city, but other type crimes, property crimes, burglaries, and robberies are very high. So with all the major problems going on in Trenton and the fact that they're getting worse, Trenton is definitely the worst state capital in the country.
Wow.
So that's my ranking.
So do you agree with that, guys? Trenton, the worst state capital in the country. If you've got that much going on in terms of burglaries and crime and stuff like that, no wonder people are leaving the place, you know, adding to the problem. In order to get people to come back to the mother home, how do you do that? You've got to generate jobs, you've got to provide opportunities and a reason to actually stay there. All right, you know, if most people are college graduates and the population is declining, they're moving out, they're going to better places, and that's the problem with today's society. If you don't like where you live, you can just leave. It's as simple as that, and that's what people do now. It's easy to leave now. All right, you can move anywhere in the world with relative ease. Okay. you do a bit of saving up, you jump on a plane, and you go. It's really, really easy. So I think the states have got to do a lot more for the individuals to stay right put. No one should be leaving the United States as far as I'm concerned. But if you like this video, press that like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Peace.